Hi, all. Thanks so much for joining Speaking of Making Healthcare Work for You, Different Perspectives and Empowering Solutions. I'm Stephanie Fields, joined by my co-host, Dr. Apoorv Gupta, and today we are joined by Dr. Sanjiv Chopra, who is a professor of medicine at the Harvard Medical School, Marshall Wolf Master Clinician Educator at Brigham and Women's Hospital, co-director CME Division at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm delighted to be with you and share some reflections.
I'm really excited about this because when we were doing our prep call, which usually is, 20 or 25 minutes, we had a few minutes and then we were like, whoa, there's so much to talk about. We better start. So with that, we are going to start because you were talking about the two most important days of your life. What are they? Tell us.
Yeah, so actually that's the title of my most recent book, written with a friend and colleague, Gina Will, The Two Most Important Days, How to Find Your Purpose and Live a Happy and Healthier Life. So it's a wonderful quote by Mark Twain, who once famously said, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Each one of us has a singular purpose in life. I maintain that the happiest people on this planet have four things in common. The first is they have a cadre of good friends. Your friends are your chosen family. A friend is a gift that you give to yourself. Robert Louis Stevenson. Friendship is a sweet responsibility, never an opportunity. Khalil Gibran. The second is the ability to forgive. Anyone listening, if you're holding a grudge, my plea to you, get rid of it. And the moment you make the decision to get rid of that, you will feel this enormous weight come off your shoulders. Look at Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison. And when he's released, he's asked the question, Mr. Mandela, do you harbor resentment against your captors? And he gave the most eloquent answer. He said, I have no bitterness. I have no resentment. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. It'll kill you. So friends, forgiveness. The third is a wonderful quote by Albert Schweitzer, physician, theologian, humanitarian, Nobel laureate, who once said, I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I'm certain of, the ones amongst you who will be truly happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. Look at those of us in healthcare, right? What a privilege to be serving our fellow brothers and sisters and waking up in the middle of the night, going to the ICU, doing an emergent endoscopy, and so on. So I've distilled it into 3 F's, friends, forgiveness, and for others. But there's a fourth one, and it begins with G. And it's not God, it's gratitude. But happiness is more than the sum total of happy moments. And in order for us to have sustained happiness, we have to find our purpose in life and live it.
What is yours? What did you determine?
So this is very interesting, Stephanie. I was asked this question by a great friend and colleague. He's very spiritual. And one day, about 15 years ago, we're having coffee and he says, Sanjiv, you've written these books, you got these awards. I said, Adrian, where is this conversation going? He said, what's your purpose in life? So I came back, I sat on the deck outside my home. My wife was in New York with the grandkids, and I wrote down my purpose, which I'll share with you now. And everything I do now has to be aligned to my purpose. Otherwise, no matter how much fortune or fame, it's a distraction. It's a detour. So my purpose in life is to fulfill my dharma. Dharma is a Sanskrit word which incorporates moral compass, authenticity, truth, vocation. So my purpose in life is to fulfill my dharma, to teach medicine, to teach about leadership, about happiness, living with purpose, to do it grounded in humility, with an ardent desire to learn every single day, to celebrate with gratitude my family, my friends, my colleagues, my students, and my patients who inspire me in countless ways, and in some small measure, inspire everyone that I meet on this amazing life journey.
Wow, Dr. Chopra, thank you again for the continued inspiration. As I was Stephanie, you've been a mentor to me for so many years, and I'm so grateful. Speaking of gratitude, let me make sure I express that to you here today.
Oh, you're so kind.
So grateful for 25 plus years of mentorship.
Yeah, so Apurv, earlier you were mentioning about your son who may go into medicine.
My daughter,
Your
actually, she's
daughter.
only in eighth grade, but she's
Yeah,
so
I
motivated.
have 3 kids and I have 2 granddaughters, and what I learned from my granddaughters is just amazing. And the younger one is now 15. When she was 8, they come from New York. We're about to have dinner in our home in Weston. And she says, Nana, which means maternal grandfather, before we have dinner, we're going to play a quick game. It's all about gratitude. I said, wow, what's it called? She said, it's called Thorns, Buds, and Roses. So I said, Mira, I don't understand. She said, I'll explain. My thorn for today is my cousin was coming for a play date, but her father got busy and couldn't bring her. My bud is she's coming tomorrow. And my roses are, you took us this morning for breakfast. Then you took me to Barnes and Nobles. You bought me 3 books. And Nana, after dinner, you're going to tell some stories. You're a pretty good storyteller. So you start with the negative, you start with something hopeful, and then you notice that there were 3 times as many roses as the thorn. There's an amazing ratio called Losada ratio, which says that negativity is very heavily weighted. And if I say something negative to you, Apurv, I now have to say 3 positive things to neutralize it. And I'm told if I say something negative to my wife, I have to say 6 positive things
Absolutely.
to neutralize it.
That's
So this is a game you can play around the dining table at dinner with your family. And you start with the youngest and you go around. In 2 minutes, it finishes, and everyone is expressing gratitude and feeling so positive and upbeat.
Wonderful, wonderful, so wonderful. And I was thinking about your opening comments, Dr. Chopra, and you were talking about the 3 F's: for friends, forgiveness for
For
others,
others
and gratitude, which we
and
just talked
gratitude.
about.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, you've had such a long, illustrious, incredible career. I mean, the pinnacle of what we all dream of in healthcare. And you've seen healthcare go through so many changes. So, do you think that somehow some of these elements are somehow missing in healthcare now, especially given how much burnout there is that we're seeing?
Yeah,
Within.
I totally agree with you. I don't even like to call it burnout.
Mhm.
I think, maybe terms like moral injury, system-induced distress are more appropriate. When you say burnout, or I say burnout, it almost implies, okay, 60% of gastroenterologists are burnt out. What's wrong with them? How come 40% are not burnt out? So I think we need to clearly address it, and we need to address the system, which is, very flawed. I have an analogy that busy clinicians, it's like they're on a treadmill, and the administrator comes and cranks up the incline and the speed. The EKG leads fall off, says, keep going. They want you to see more patients, they want you to see faster patients, they want you to see patients on weekends, etc. So part of the lesion is in the system. But how do we make ourselves more resolute? And I think if you're happy, right? If there's darkness in this room, I can't say, darkness, go out, go out, go out, open the window. All I have to do is flick a light switch. So if we find joy and meaning in our work, then we will not have burnout, right? If you think about your own profession and the way it's evolved, or any of us going into medicine, nursing, public health, initially it's a job, then maybe it's a career, and then if we're lucky, it's a calling, right? Then people ask me, what's your favorite day of the week? And they're very surprised when I say 2 times. They go, 2? I said, yeah, Friday evening and Monday morning. I look forward to going to work. I love my work. Work is worship. So if we can find joy and meaning in our work, if we can be happy, if we can be fulfilled, if we can have a purpose in life, there will be no burnout. one of the things, of course, you know this better than I do, exercise. If you're vitamin D deficient, or even if you're not, I recommend taking vitamin D. And then meditation. I wrote a book called The Big Five, and in it, there are 5 things, and I had about 30, 35 interviews, and some were 10 minutes, some were 30 minutes. And whoever the moderator was, I said, please, even though there are only 5 things, give me half a minute at the end to summarize so people will remember. And they all did that. So I said, okay, here's the deal. On a good sunny day, go for a brisk walk to your favorite Java shop. So now you got the vitamin D, you got the exercise, and you got the coffee. 3 things, you live longer. Coffee drinkers have lower risk of 7 common cancers, low risk of Alzheimer's, Parkinsonism, diabetes, gout, death from suicide, cirrhosis. And now 5 studies published in Annals, New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet. People who drink coffee, men and women, have low total and cause-specific mortality. You've heard of telomeres. Elizabeth Blackburn with 2 other colleagues in 2009 got the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for work on telomeres and telomerase. So shortened telomeres are linked with accelerated cellular aging. Who is shortened telomeres? Mothers of chronically severely disabled children, stress day in, day out, caregivers of people with Alzheimer's. Who has longer telomeres? People who exercise, people on the Mediterranean diet, people who meditate, and amazingly, people who drink coffee. And here's the study. Increased caffeine intake is linked with shortened telomeres. Increased coffee intake is linked with longer telomeres. So if you have Red Bull every day, a lot of caffeine, you're not going to live long. It's not the caffeine. Coffee has 1,000 constituents. So anyway, coffee, exercise, vitamin D. The 4th is nuts. Study in the New England Journal of Medicine. If you eat a small amount of nuts every day, and when you read the study, it says even people who were overweight and didn't exercise had lower mortality. All the nuts, pistachios, walnuts, almonds, even peanuts. 2 studies now. It's not a nut, it's a legume. You live longer. So I said, on a good sunny day, go for a brisk walk to your favorite coffee shop. Don't go nuts remembering this. That's the 4th one. And before you go, meditate. That's the 5th one. And there's an ancient saying, you should meditate once a day. And if you don't have time to do that, you should meditate twice a day. And everyone remembered it. They'd meet me 6 months later. Sanjiv, 5 things. So those are 5 things we can do based on scientific evidence to actually live longer.
Okay, so wait, what's the science on the coffee? Because I don't know if this counts.
Yeah, it counts. So
smoke on the sugar?
Okay. So here's, I used to get asked this question. All right. See what I got?
Coffee with Dr. Chopra.
I did a show on this, multiple shows. Anyway.
We have a virtual cheers here, guys.
So I would get asked, how should I drink my coffee? And I would say the research hasn't been done. I drink it black. The only thing I recommend for you, if you want to put sugar or a little bit of milk, go ahead. Do not put artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners change the gut microbiome and make things worse. Diet Coke will increase the risk, it's been published, the risk of stroke, especially in women, 3-fold. The worst thing we can do is use these dry drinks.
What about agave? Is that real? What counts?
That's not been studied. But the moment you stop putting sugar, within 2 weeks, you won't miss it. In fact, if somebody accidentally puts sugar, you'll say, I can't drink it. It's too syrupy. I gave it up in 1988. I used to put 2 spoons of sugar in my tea and coffee, now 0. So this study came out in the Annals of Internal Medicine. It was from 10 European countries where they make their coffee differently, they drink their coffee differently, lower total and cause-specific mortality. All of them. In the same Annals of Internal Medicine, there was a study from Hawaii. So it looked at Caucasian population, African Americans, Hispanic population, Asian Americans. It didn't matter what your ethnicity was. You drink coffee, you live longer. Regular coffee is more beneficial than decaf. But here's an amazing, but decaf also has lots of benefits. And the most amazing recent study, because I talk about it, write about it, now all my colleagues. So Apur will know Dr. Lowell Schnipper. He used to be our chief of hematology, oncology, tenured professor, brilliant. He's a good friend of mine. He sent me an article about 2 months ago. Sanjiv, you've probably seen this, but look at it. JAMA Oncology. People with advanced colon cancer, metastatic. So they have colon cancer and it's out of the barn, it's in the liver, in the bones, maybe lungs, who drink coffee have improved disease-free survival. What? And it was seen with regular and decaf, and it was dose dependent. In other words, 2 cups a day was better than 1, 3 better than 2. I recommend 2 to 4 cups a day.
My mom will be very happy to hear this.
Yeah. And you know, Voltaire, the French philosopher, was known for his amazing statements. He once said, every man is guilty of all the good he did not do. Right? If you have a talent or a skill, you must share it. He said, cherish those who seek the truth, but beware of those who find it. Now, Voltaire lived at a time when life expectancy was in the 40s. He lived to the age of 83 years. And it's not proof that he lived that long because he drank a lot of coffee. But you will never guess how many cups of coffee he drank in a day. Take a guess, Stephanie.
11.
Apur, go higher.
I was gonna say 8, but I'll go 16.
50 to 72 cups.
50? Did this man have a catheter? Because that doesn't even sound.
Yeah, I know.
An early version of Depends.
And when I mention this during my liver talks, somebody will raise their hand, Anaheim 7,000 clinicians, and say, Dr. Chopra, what size? And I go, how's that important? Even if it's this much, 50 adds up to a lot.
Yeah.
It's the number 1 beverage consumed in the world right now. 2.25 billion cups of coffee are consumed every day. Coca-Cola has seen the writing on the wall. They bought Costa, which is a chain of coffee shops in all the European airports, about a year ago for $5.2 billion. Pepsi is coming out with a coffee-infused drink. So I think coffee and water, 2 best drinks.
I need to get you, my friend. We were just at our kid's soccer game the other day, and she had a shirt that her mom got her that said "Coffee, my hottest friend," which I thought was hilarious. But that covers the coffee importance and the friends that you said.
Now I have another thing. I've written a book on coffee called "Coffee: The Magical Elixir: Facts That Will Astound and Perk You Up," which was suggested by my daughter. The subtitle, and I have quotes. I have all the things, different kinds of coffee, all the research. And then I was saying, you've heard the term BC and AD, right? Before Christ, Anno Domini. No. You know what it stands for? BC stands for before coffee. AD stands for after double espresso.
Excellent.
Well, let's switch to not what you're consuming, but what you're doing mentally, to meditation. Now, I believe in the benefits of meditation. I feel like I should do it, yet I suggest it to my husband often, and we never do it. But how do you, it's so hard to believe sometimes, how you could think or how you could do something or not think in the case of meditation. They can actually improve health benefits. How does this work?
So the way it works is there are many different kinds of meditation. I think one of the easiest is called TM, Transcendental Meditation. Transcend means to go beyond. The way to learn it is not from an app, not from a book. You can read a book. There's a wonderful book called Strength in Stillness by Rob Roth. He has taught meditation to all the stars, but more importantly for me, he has taught it to veterans with PTSD, he's taught it to homeless people, he's taught it to addicts, been doing it for 45 years. This guy is in bliss. It's an amazing teacher, Strength in Stillness. And you can read a lot about it and the research and everything and anecdotes, storytelling by famous people. But the way to learn it, Stephanie, if I was going to learn to play golf, I'd go see a golf instructor, right? If you're going to learn the piano, learn from a teacher. So you can look up the Yellow Pages or Google and you'll find a teacher in the area. And once people learn TM, I learned it 40 years ago, and I do it twice a day. Once in the morning, and even though the experience is very blissful, the reason for doing it is to accrue the benefits and activity. And then I do it at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's like the whole day opens up again. So it's very simple. It's a mantra-based. Mantra is a monosyllable in Sanskrit. It's not a religion. I know rabbis and Maulvis and Hindu priests and all kinds of Catholic priests. And when they've learned meditation, they have a greater appreciation of their own religion, their own spirituality. So it's very powerful. The one regret most people have when they learn meditation, oh, I'd heard about it all these years. I should have learned it earlier. There's a wonderful saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So you have to be ready. Your husband has to be ready. The moment my wife learned it, my brother learned it, I was a holdout for a month, then I learned it. And then the first reaction is we got to get the kids to learn it, children technique. We should talk to our friends. We talked to our friends, and some of them went the next week and learned. And there are other friends I've known for 40 years. They still haven't learned. Mm-hmm. So, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
I was just saying, and here you are, you're here to teach us. And so maybe that's a sign for us and maybe some of our audience members that we're ready. Is it the ever elusive, we just don't have time, and you said, hey, if you don't have time,
you should do it twice a day, because we have time, and you will be so efficient, you'll be so much more creative, you will sleep better, that the quality of your life will change in such an amazing way. I don't want to boast, but when I'm giving my talks, I feel I'm in a zone. And I scan the audience on the left, in the middle, on the right, and I'm saying something. I see somebody, 50 rows away, and she's got a quizzical look. And I can say, maybe I wasn't that clear. Let me rephrase what I just said. All that comes from meditation. I don't have to look at my notes. My golf is pretty good, and I ascribe it to meditation. My interpersonal relationships, my friendships, everything. Upper, very simple analogy. There's a beautiful tree, and on the top and branches, the leaves are drying up and dying. We don't take a water hose and fertilizer and spray it on the leaf. Water the root, gain the fruit. Your whole life opens up.
At the root, do you think that ultimately there's something about the mind that's causing all of the challenges, and is that what you're calming down?
Oh yeah, I think we're anxious, we're concerned, we worry about stuff that will never come to pass. And by meditating, you get anchored, you're grounded, you find silence no matter how chaotic things are. And here's the other analogy that I think is very, very important. Because I meditate, and I've been meditating for 40 years, doesn't mean I'm way up there. The analogy is, it's an elevator. The elevator goes from the basement to the 100th floor. I may have hopped on the 20th floor. You may already be on the 60th floor. Stephanie may be on the 62nd floor.
I'm on the first floor because I'm afraid of elevators.
But when you learn, you will ascend. You are unfolding your own potential. There's a guy in Hollywood, David Lynch, and he has started a foundation called the David Lynch Foundation. He's a longtime meditator. He credits all his success. There's one of the Ray Dalio, one of the top hedge fund guys worth billions, credits all his success to meditation. Joe Namath, when he made that Hail Mary pass, ascribes it to TM, meditation. So it's very, very powerful. You're just unfolding your own potential. So this guy, David Lynch, has a foundation raising $2 billion. The goal is to actually teach meditation to young kids in school. What do? We tell them, go sit on a corner, punish them? No. Quiet time. Just quiet time. The whole class can meditate for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Very simple thing if you're feeling stressed, which was taught to me by my then 7-year-old granddaughter. She says, Nana, my teacher has a master's in mindfulness. I said, what? This is New York City, right? Even 9 years ago. And we do 5 things every day, the whole class. So one, we have these mandalas, and we take crayons and we color them. So I said, Mira, you were coloring when you were 3 years of age. She said, no. We have to do it in silence. Number 2, we pretend we're walking a tightrope, 1 foot over another. Number 3, we have these glitters and we shake it and the glitters settle and then some go up, settle. That's how our thoughts settle when we are mindful. I said, wow. She said, number 4, we have a gong and we strike it and then the sound fades. That's how our thoughts settle when we are mindful. And then there was a 5th one, which I've forgotten. But anyway, can you imagine in school, the whole class, it takes 2 or 3 minutes. They're teaching these kids every day.
How does that lead to exceptional performance, though? How does just clearing your mind lead to your ability to excel?
It will happen during activity. In fact, we were told if you get some brilliant ideas during your meditation, don't come out of it and write it. If it's important, it'll come back to you during your waking state. But you become more creative, you are more energized, you sleep better. All of those things happen automatically.
Yeah. You're not resisting, basically, right? You're not overcome by all the negative tendencies of the mind and the negative thoughts. So
when you learn, you're told.
Yes.
Suppose I'm meditating and I get a thought, oh, my left knee is hurting and I need a total knee. All right. I'm instructed how to come back to my mantra. You don't try to push that thought aside. You simply come back to your mantra and then you transcend. And when you transcend, there is no thought. There is no mantra. It's the state of least entropy. You know who relates a lot to all of these things are quantum physicists, because they can relate from their discipline to all of this in meditation. It's 5,000 years old, but the science is catching up now. So longer telomeres in meditators. Elizabeth Blackburn, Nobel laureate.
So why isn't this something that people work with patients on, who are going through oncology treatment?
Oh, yeah, they should. Actually, a lot of oncologists at the BI and a lot of the faculty have learned meditation, and they've learned it from my wife, who's a pediatrician. And 10 years ago, she retired. I said, you got to spend more time when I travel with our grandchildren in New York. And she wanted to become a teacher of meditation. So she learned for 6 months. And now she's taught more than 1,000 people. She teaches at her home on a Thursday, introductory lecture, Saturday, one-on-one instruction, Sunday group check, Monday evening group check, Tuesday evening group check. She doesn't charge a penny. And about 5 years ago, I said, I'm very glad you don't charge. This is your dharma. You're so radiant and fulfilled when you teach. But here's one thing you should do. You should tell every person you teach that they should make a donation to a charity of their choosing, whatever amount. And they don't have to tell you which charity and what amount, but pay it forward. When you give something of such immense value for free, down the road, people may not value it, but pay it forward. So she does that now, and people, some will tell us who they donated to, and some will say, I'll donate to Animal Shelter, Red Cross, America India Foundation, whatever. So it's amazing.
So wonderful.
Life is
Such
so
basic
powerful.
ideas, and they're all within our own capacity and
Yeah.
within our reach. But you've given us some wonderful practical ideas